No volume. Mic was not turned in or plugged in. There we go. That's better. It's Saturday morning wrap up. Saturday morning. Tell you what happened to me. What happens if you lay down in here? Ah, this is it, folks. Good thing this is just strictly live YouTube. Pull it all together. We do have an extra listener. Welcome to the show. Just pulling it together. Thought I'd have a brief evening nap that I just fell asleep and slept right through showtime. Long day, long week. Well, I'm here to do a wrap up. See what we've got. Got lots of interest. Well, I don't know if they're interested or not, but they're Saturday evening wrap up of all things WordPress. There's been a lot of miscellaneous stuff this week. Nothing overly exciting. This is just a way for me to try and build up my ability online and see what's happening. I got as far as articles I saved this week. What I do is I read an article, post somewhere I think is interesting, and then I save them. Save them in such a way that I'm hoping it'll refresh my memory when I look at them again on Saturday. And again, I never know, because that's the hard part is it comes back to it. I don't always have a great recall of what's happened with it. What do we got? First one here, I've got article on how to use WordPress SAS or WordPress as an SAS platform. But this will be an interesting article written by Forbes, which is an unusual place to find information about itself, considering financial magazine. This is an article here that starts off talking about WordPress as an SAS, or using, you're familiar with SAS software and WordPress, it's to use it as an SAS. And they actually got, the article actually gets in here and talks about someone who did exactly that. Started out with a plugin, considered out enabling notification system. There's actually a fair number of plugins out there that are SAS, and WordPress is their base form. So yes, you can scale it. Yeah, rather glowing article on how to use how WordPress can be used in SAS. Okay, what else we got? It's 2018 year in review for Elementor and sort of what they're planning to do with 2019. It's a nice article off of their website, history of Elementor as a plugin system, framework system. I have yet to use it myself really, but there's lots of really great reports on how well it works. You know, one of the biggest supporters of this show, from Australia there, he he uses it a lot for his sites. About 6 or 8 months ago, he started building with Elementor, and he's been talking about it ever since. Donations to the show and all the different websites he's done. Very excellent from JazzWeb. He's got a very long list of them. In Elementor, what they've done, got over 1 million sites, 2,000 5-star reviews. All in all, it's a fantastic theme builder, design, user experience builder, marketing, company, 55 employees, happiness engineers. Videos produced for Elementor, subscribers. There's a lot in it. Talks about what to do. That's basically a big roundup for the year 2019, which is where we're at now. My voice is right off. That's what happened. So I got another one here from Bob WP, and he's talking about making some changes in his podcast and his show again this year. He's got a new podcast coming up, and I've only listened to him a couple of times, but he's really an interesting fellow. We've taken not requests from him, but I've seen stuff pop up in his newsletter. I do follow his newsletter, which is often full of tips and information, especially if you're doing WooCommerce. So if you're really interested in WooCommerce, etc., check out Bob WP. It's a really great site. Lots of really great information there. So this one here is just really a roundup article of what they're going to do. Something you might want to go check out. Another place, if you're really looking for information, stay up to date, is check out BlogAid. Mayanna, she's oftentimes right up on the leading edge of things. Not sure how that woman does it, but she's a powerhouse. I've seen lots of really great stuff from her. Her articles and tips are always on target and on par. Well, I do have some disagreements with her on what I think are better plugins, but that's the way it should work. You shouldn't always agree with everybody. She's talking about her year. She's talking about she's convinced Gutenberg is the only way for WordPress, which I'm not thoroughly convinced of that. I'm still sure that it split the community. It unnecessarily split the community. They could have managed to hold the whole community together by sticking to their compromises they've done over the years, but this time around they just didn't. She's got service and training. Her service and training, not too bad. I've taken the courses a couple of times just to see what they were, and there's some really great information in there. And if you're new, it's some really excellent information. Good tips and information if you have been doing it for a little while. She does talk about the update to your PHP level, 7 or better, if your hosting provider has it. Not everyone is up to, I believe, 7.2 is the highest level available right now. Not every hosting provider has 7.2. Some are only at 7.1. So you do want to update, considering 7 is no longer supported itself. It's really, oh no, 7, yeah, December 13th. 7 is no longer supported in PHP. It did be a fiasco, with PHP over the last couple of years, considering they jumped from 5 to 7. They didn't even stop at a 6.0 for some reason. Almost like someone's scared of 6. Here they're scared of doing a 6.6.6. It talks about new CAPTCHA 3 from from Google. Not sure I've used it yet. I think I might have. I don't know. It's not really any different than the CAPTCHA version 2 that Google had. Oh, new way of signing up for it. So, site tech information. For Tips Tuesday newsletter is actually quite good. If you don't get it, you should. It's got a lot of really great information. It comes in Tuesdays. It's often got some really good information about what's happening or coming up, or some ideas to look for. Yeah, well, once I get, yeah, go check that one out. And subscribe to Elementor's newsletter. They've got an article here on how Ninja Outreach increased website conversions by 700%. This is a what do they call it? When you it's a case study. A case study on a company that used Elementor to build and increase their conversions. So showing their distribution rates, etc. So it's something worth reading in here. An article from Matt this week. Democratized Publishing Revisited. It's an article Matt wrote about what he means democratized publishing means, and to him as he revisited the WordPress mission statement. Is democratized publishing, but of course, Matt's main thing, the freedom to run a program from any purpose. That was one of Matt's biggest things, is that it could be done for any purpose. Of course, what he did was he was leveraging the open source software for his business and leveraging the open source community at the same time. Not a bad thing in and of itself. Freedom to redistribute, freedom to distribute copies of modified version. So it's pretty much the same as it was. And it looks like Matt so his mission is that people of all blah 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 backgrounds, interests, abilities access the free as in speech software that empowers them to express themselves in the open web and content and to own their content. So and Matt's definition here, quite good, is that it's democratized publishing, meaning that the software is free for you to do as you want, do it in any way you want on your own site, on your own web hosting, and wherever you can get hosting, etc. And he's putting out there, what does democratized publishing mean to everyone else? And he was looking for replies. He's had 22 of them. When I visited it, there was only like 3 or 4. This is actually kind of an interesting little bit. Okay, and one person's on it is giving anyone the ability to be heard anywhere, anytime, without prejudice or judgment, trusting that they will do so in a responsible fashion, sustaining an ecosystem to allow for doing so while maintaining a minimum reasonable standard with the intention of bringing any gaps or access or understanding related to that person's religion or personal situation. Above all, doing so unrestricted access to community infrastructure on sustain and improve their. Well, we know they don't give unlimited access, but and McCarthy's was, to me, it means more than just my ability to publish. It's also my ability to receive what is published. Makes me think back to early online communications I found on queer people and how I resonated with the stories shared. In its core, I realized that for me, it's a very two-way street to share and define. If you're lucky, we get to do both. I justify the fact Gutenberg is coming because we had a mission to democratize publishing, and will bring things to the majority of people who didn't afford to buy a page. Now I realized that it was focused on what the mission has to offer. Bet that when you say democracy, you think about freedom and rights, like freedom of publishing simple content, freedom to choose your server, ability to choose for your own published content, right of privacy for your content, right of accessibility, ability to get involved in the updates process, ability to see but what the obligations in democracy have respect to other people's rights, go to vote, yell when you see a problem, play by the laws and standards, learn the rules, and yes, I believe the education is an obligation, not right. Learn the rules. This part about when you learn the rules, they change them on you. I have that one firsthand knowledge of that. I learned the rules, and they changed them on me because they didn't like the way I was using the rules. One of the problems you're dealing with. That's when you know it's not a full democracy. Well, none of them are truly democracies. I mean, after all, what is a democracy? Democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. That's what a democracy is. Democracies are, while good, they're also really, really difficult. That's why republics is always a better way. This to wealth, and to me, democratizing wealth means that people with less access to wealth and resources know to develop economies, publish their work online, have it be just as accessible as any other website, at least in theory. First time in history such a thing has been possible. Well, to an extent, absolutely. Got 2 listeners. No feedback yet. Really surprised at that. Always up for questions. Incompletely. The mean is having social justice warriors on staff at Automatic. Well, this is interesting. What does democratized publishing mean to you? Sure as hell does not mean having social justice warriors on staff at Automatic go into lesbians' blogs, actually rewrite the content therein, and retcon so-called terms of service and make the original post retroactively legal. Well, I already know they do that on a regular basis. That's interesting. I'll have to pop over and see what that is. WordPress censors gender trender. Alice Mage. Gender trender statement.
Warning, warning, unlawful content.
Oh! How about that? Got a bunch of random buttons from soundboard. Sounds from the No Agenda show, which actually fit right in that to this perfectly. It's kind of really weird. So it seems like that WordPress.org or WordPress.com has been censoring comments and editing there. That's interesting. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Lots of comments back to that one. So there's a lot of different ideas and information here on what different people think about what it is. What does it basically mean to me? If it's me, it's like it's the ability for people to do and say what they want to do, provided it's not codified in an actual country's laws and not in the so-called ideals of what people think should be improper speech or whatever they want to call it, hate speech or anything like that. That sort of information it's just, if it's not actually codified in laws as an illegal thing, then it should be allowed. To me, freedom of speech is the ultimate thing in the world. Fortunately, I don't live in the United States, but I grew up there. So it's kind of stuck in me. No consumer product. Here it is. This is an interesting one. Good comment above. Democratized means the community has the input. That's certainly not the case with Gutenberg. And made. Oh, this is interesting. I think it means easily publish your own website that everyone can do it. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I agree with the comment above. Democratizing means the community has input. This is certainly not the case with Gutenberg, was automatic made decision top down. On a recent podcast, you described your leadership of WordPress as that of a benevolent dictator. Well, he's described that. Matt's described himself as a benevolent dictator since way back in this project. And as some of us were said at the time, what happens when the dictator suddenly is not getting his way and he just decides that he's no longer going to be benevolent? They all do it sooner or later. Every dictator. Everyone who's in charge eventually has to make hard decisions. If you're serious about your mission, perhaps you should reconsider this. And then Matt actually chimed in. As far as I'm aware, there's no successful consumer product that are run in a direct vote democracy style. Oh, so wait a minute. I thought WordPress was an open source product, not a consumer product. That's interesting, Matt. You sort of tipped your hand there. Why pretense via this point that you or even WordPress is an organization, support democratic values? Clearly, is demonstrated throughout the development and deployment. You have little appreciation. Oh, this sidetracked really badly here, Matt. You should have just let that go and never said anything. Huh. Why insulting you ask for input when you have no intention of changing your position based on feedback? The entire history of WordPress is one of adapting and changing in response to feedback. Yeah, it was a position considered and decided against, so that's as good as not listening. There's this one here is well worth reading. Now I'll stick all these links into the field down below so people can check them out. Other place to get some interesting information, go check out the WIP. Really interesting place, articles and tips and information from the WIP. I'll be pulling them in here. As I get better at this each week, I will have, I'll end up picking one or two articles that I've really got a bit of a hankering and passion for, and we'll sort of tear them apart. Oh, same place. And we'll wrap it up with an article from the Tavern, which is another good place to get information. Not as good as it once was before Matt bought it. Before Matt bought it, he used to do some cutting edge reporting. I mean, his reporting was like really, really cutting edge. And shortly after Matt bought it, it was decently reported. In the last couple of years, it's kind of toned itself down and become a cheerleader most of the time. The one great thing they do there, which I'll give them kudos for, which surprises me most of the time, is they never cut off comments unless it gets so ridiculous. I've only seen them cut it off on one or two articles, and at that point there were like hundreds or thousands of comments because the article was so controversial. He just had to okay, nothing left here, nothing to see. Nobody's ever going to read any further. So, but I do give them kudos for that they do let the community speak. That must be the one caveat that, what's his name there? I can't remember his name now. You got Sarah, you got here. Jeff Chandler. Chandler did. He launched in January 29, which was, you know, a few months before me. I launched my show in 2009 in October. So, oh, that wasn't when I launched the show. Launched the show 2 years later. But he had a 2-year head start. Yeah, this is nice. So Jeff Chandler is who it was, and Jeff's an interesting guy. He used to do some really cutting edge stuff. Nowhere near as much as he. After it was owned by Matt, and they brought on Sarah, and they brought on a couple other people. Sarah does a lot of the writing for it now. And I don't like her style most of the time. Most of her stuff is seriously soft. Jeff is still he can be pretty harsh on WordPress at times, and on Matt and the WordPress.org team and the WordPress.com team. He can be pretty harsh at times, but he's nowhere near the cutting edge that he used to be. Anyway, there's a wrap up of articles, information from this week. Some good, some not so great. I see there's really no one there yet, which is unfortunate, but you know, I'm really hoping that this gets moving, gets some momentum. I would like to see this Saturday wrap up turn into something really good. It's supposed to be on at 8. Today it's late by half an hour, mainly because, well, let's face it, I fell asleep while preparing for the show, and I was like, oh, woke up, it's like, oh, and I realized, oh shit, I was supposed to do the show. Oh. I like to think I have information and ideas and stuff. Sometimes it's hard to pull it out of my head when I'm sitting by myself getting things, but I can get into some really interesting discussions. I would love to have some discussions back and forth with people. Well, I can talk and you can type. I'm not the best at typing and talking. It's kind of like walking and chewing bubblegum. I just don't do it very well. But it's really up to you, listeners out there. Hopefully you will find this wrap up a good show and give me some direction with it. It's kind of open for direction. I thought about doing it. I've been thinking about doing it for weeks. I want to get it into a regular, consistent basis, and I want to talk about lots of different things. I mean, the weekly plugin show that gets put out every week into the podcast feed. This show here, strictly a YouTube live, and then it's saved for people to come in later and watch and listen to. That's really all I've got, and I'm going to try to keep it to half an hour or less every show, unless we really get deep in depth into something. This is all I've really got for it today, so I'm going to let it go, and we'll just use the sign off here today for let my girl take us out of here.
Reminders for the show. All the show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the Friday newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate. and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Also, follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsA2Z. John can be reached at his website at johnoverall.com or send him an email, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today. Hey, Hemden, thanks for chiming in there, even though it's after the end. Maybe you'll show up next week. It'd be great to chat with you. Glad you enjoyed the show. And, well, Gutenberg is both yes and no. There's a big split. It split the community. I mean, it's an okay plugin. I started to use it, so. Anyway, thanks for showing up. Have yourself a good day. Take care. Bye.